Hey students, all right, so now that you are kind of getting started, let's go ahead and take a quick look at the interface. This is called a splash screen, and it just basically tells you it's Blender 2.79, and you can get rid of the splash screen, or maybe you already accidentally have, by just clicking anywhere outside of it, and then your default should look very similar to this. I want to just talk about what each of these different areas is. And if we go back to that docs.blender.org site where we have the Blender manual, you can click down here under user interface, and I'm on the introduction right now. Looking at the default screen that you are, it says by default Blender starts up showing the default screen, which is separated into 5 areas containing the editors listed below. And let's see if you can find them on your Blender screen. So the info editor is up at the top. And here it is, the info editor here. And you'll notice the little eye right there. If you click on that menu, you could change that. And notice that the different tools and menu items have changed as well. So this is now, and if you hover your cursor over it, the current editor type for this area is now 3D view. Okay, so you can change from 3D view to timeline. And notice the difference. So you can go ahead and just click through there without being afraid. Don't be afraid, and you can just look at what these different editors look like, okay? So you have all of these different editors, okay? Don't be afraid, it's okay. And then if you want to get back to the default view that we had, remember that eye? Click on info. Perfect, we're right back where we were. Okay, excellent. We also, it says right here, are in the default view. So let's go ahead and let's cover. It says screen data block defining the layout. So this is actually default layout. And if we can click here, and we can actually change the layout of that. And do you want to ruin your default and not ever be able to get back to it? No, you don't. And so if you want, you can just add a new layout view. So click add and then type in here, I'm going to type Girot's layout, and I'm going to hit enter. And now I'm working in Girot's layout, and my default is just going to be exactly the same. I can always go back to that default, okay, if I need to. So I'm in Girot's layout, and let's head back and see what else we have here. So that was the info editor at the top. And then in yellow here, we have a large 3D view editor. So let's take a look at that. Our 3D view editor is here. Now you'll notice that over here on the left, you have a tool shelf. And you might have to drag this down a little bit. And when there's little arrows like that, that means that there's more information in there. Perfect. So if you wanted to smooth something out because it was just a little too jaggedy, you could smooth things. If you needed to duplicate something, here's where you could duplicate. If you wanted to mirror, to scale, to rotate, to translate. You've got all of that here in this tool shelf, and you also have a create tab. So you can create a plane, a cube, a circle, a sphere, an icosphere, a cylinder, a cone, a torus, a grid, and a monkey. Okay, and then you also have lamps. You can add a lamp, and that's lighting. So you're gonna have some lighting, and then you have other things that you can add as well. So you can go ahead and explore things. You have relations. You have animation, where you can insert keyframes. You have physics, and you have a grease pencil. Okay, so I'm just going to bring it back up to tools so it's still our default view. Now, notice if I grab the edge of this, I can make it wider. Or if I bring it all the way to the edge and let go, I can make it disappear. Could you see how easy it is that you might open up your blender and panic because you can't find your tool shelf? Well, that's okay. Look at this plus right here. Click on that plus and your tool shelf comes right back. Notice there's a plus over on the right. You know what that means? That means there's a property panel. So let's click on that property panel. Now that that is open, that's going to allow you to do transformations, rotations, where you can manually enter the numbers here so that you can be very precise about the movements that you're doing. Very good. So it's okay to explore things. It's okay to find out, oh look, you can add a background image if you want to. That's fun. Nice. So you can just grab a hold of that and bring it over to the side for when you don't want it there. Okay, excellent. So let's go ahead. I'm just going to bring that out a little bit wider so I can see all of the different gadgets on there. And let's come back to our manual. So the timeline is at the bottom, and it's in the magenta down here. Let's take a look at that. You know, one of the things I forgot to mention, we were in the 3D view editor. Remember that whole yellow area? And if you wanted to change that area, this is where you would do that. So if you wanted to change that to, for example, a graph editor, you could do that. You can change that to anything you want. It could be info again. It could be an outliner. So how do I get back? I just click on 3D view, okay? So that is 3D view editor right there. So down here at the bottom, and I'm just gonna tell you again that once again, you've got, this won't slide up, this top of this, header. This is called a header here, even though it's at the bottom. It's more like a footer, huh? It's not going to go up anymore, but if you grab it at the bottom of that header, you can slide it up, okay? So one of the things that you could do on accident, though, is you could grab the top part. Instead of trying to pull it up, you might pull it down. And if you do that, it's going to disappear. So if you're panicking and going, oh my goodness, where are all of my 3D editor tools? Remember, there's that plus. Click on the plus and it's going to come right back, okay? Then down here at the bottom, this is your timeline, okay? And you can actually change that. It doesn't have to be the timeline down there. You could do another 3D editor. So a lot of times this might be the cool way to set it up. Maybe you want to put that away so that you can see more. Okay, just remember that if you have pluses, that means that on the left there's a tool shelf and on the right there's a properties panel. So does this have a tool shelf? Yes, it does. Does this have a property panel? Yes, it does. Excellent. I can put those away. Let's try a different view or a different editor. Let's try the graph editor. Okay, the graph editor doesn't have a plus over here, but it does have a plus over here. So it does have a properties panel. Let's try another one. We've got the UV image editor. Oh, look, it's got a plus on the left indicating there is a tool shelf and a plus on the right indicating there is a properties panel. Okay, excellent. So, you know, practice putting those away and recognizing those plus signs so that you don't panic when you can't find something. Just look for the plus. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and put this back to timeline view, and I'm going to grab this and bring it back down. Excellent. Now let's head back to our manual. Next we have an outliner at the top right. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. Is that what you've got? You can slide that down. Let's hover the cursor over there, and sure enough, it says the current editor type for this area is outliner. Could you change that? You sure could. You could do another 3D view there. And yep, there's your tool shelf and your properties panel, but it won't open up. So I would have to actually spread it out a little bit. So yeah, I could just have 3D editors all over the place if I wanted to. But what I want to do is get it back to the way it was. So I'm going to slide this over to the left, slide that over to the right, and I'm going to change this to outliner. Ta-da! And now it's back. So never panic, okay? All right, have your cursor over this. What do we have here? This editor is properties. Perfect. Let's see if that is in line with what this says. It says a properties editor is at the bottom right, okay? So now you can see that you can go over each of these and see what type of editor you have up, and you could change it to any type of editor that you need to. Okay, so something that you might find that you accidentally do is, let's say you've got these little areas down in the corners and you're thinking, I'm gonna grab that, and oh, oops, it just created a brand new area and I didn't want that. I thought I was resizing it, but I wasn't. How do I get rid of that now? Well, you're just going to have to kind of grab that and move up. And when the top one turns gray, that bottom one will disappear. What's really happening is it's joining it. So you might do the same thing over here. Let's say, oops, look, I just accidentally created a duplicate. Now, maybe you wanted a duplicate, maybe you did it on purpose. I mean, you might actually, you've got so many different options here, and maybe you're tired, you don't want to have to sit and toggle back and forth, and you want to be able to work under your modifiers and underneath your, let's see here, texture at the same time. Instead of having to go back and forth, you could have just opened up a new one. But let's say, okay, I only want one. So grab that corner again, and when you drag over, notice that arrow that it created here to the right and it became dark gray. It's joining it. Boom. Now you only have one again. Okay, so maybe you want to play around a little bit with that so you can start to feel comfortable. Whoops, I just pulled another timeline out. Let's say I only wanted one. Grab this, drag to the right. Okay, so the moral of the story is if I drag that up, it's going to create another one. If I want to get rid of one of them, I'm going to have to grab from the bottom here and pull up. Okay, and then once again, I have to have the arrow to pull it down and resize it. Don't grab those corners to resize, okay? Those corners are just going to create a duplicate editor window. So once again, grab that, drag it to the right. When you see that arrow and it turns dark gray, then they are joined together as one. I could accidentally do it here or on purpose. Grab that. Whoops, maybe I need to grab this one. Okay, let's say I grabbed another one of those. I need to get rid of it. Just grab this and bring it over to the right. Let's see, there we go. I was able to create another 3D view. Oops, let's say I don't want it. Grab this and bring it to the left. You'll see that arrow and that gray, and it will go away. So play around with that. That is essentially how the interface works. Have fun with that.